Before you start this next tutorial, please remember, don't jump ahead if you have not done any of the original tutorials. Please do the original 10 tutorials which build the toy truck, complete that, and you will find doing these tutorials much easier. Alright, so we are going to create the famous egg-shaped type chair, as you can see here. So go into your Part Studio, as before, and we're going to create a sketch onto the front work plane. The first sketch you're going to do is an egg shape. Alright, so it's going to be drawn in the correct way, which you would, if you were drawing it out on paper using compasses, you would draw it in this way, or similar. Alright, so I know the widest point across the base of the egg chair is about 900 millimeters. So I'm going to draw a circle of diameter 900. I'm also going to delete the dimensions as I go through this drawing. It can become just a bit visually confusing if you leave all the dimensions on. I'm going to draw a straight line from the center. Make sure it's the center. Zoom in and always check you're drawing from the right place. And make sure it goes straight up. The length, when it meets the edge, the length should be 450. And then draw another line up at an angle. That can be 450 as well. Doesn't actually really matter. I'm just going to escape from this line tool now by pressing the escape button. And I'm going to use the dimension tool to dimension between here and here. That angle needs to be 135. And then I'm going to draw up again, 450. And use the dimension tool to check that angle. And it is 135 already, so that's fine. Make it 135 exactly if it's not. So again, let's just delete some of these dimensions. Once I've drawn them, I don't really need them again. I'm also going to select that line, and that line, and make it a construction. I should also, just to help, draw a straight line out here to the edge, making sure it's 450. Back to the center and draw another line out to the edge on the other side. 450 again. Now what we're going to do, use the circle tool, go to the edge here on the circle, the line you just drew, and then click and drag another line. You'll see it's still a construction line, so move the cursor all the way to the top and just check the construction button and it turns to a normal line. So draw this from here, as I showed you, all the way across the middle of the smaller circle, which you originally drew to the other side. Then draw another circle from that point to here. So you get two larger circles overlapping each other with this circle in the middle. A bit like a Venn diagram, if you know what that is. Can you see the egg forming yet? So this is the actual bottom of the chair. Okay, so you can see it comes up here now. Comes this, but what you'd want to do at this point is create an arc which goes from here to here, and then back down onto this line. So to do that, simply another circle tool, or another circle from here to that point. You can see those little icons appearing when you meet the line, which means it is tangential, which is exactly what you want. Do you see it now? Let's just trim away some of the lines which we no longer need. You should start to see the egg shape. There you go. Don't want all these. Okay. Right, and that's a perfect egg. What we want, but to make the shell structure in the software, we actually only want half the egg. So simply go to the top, it'll find the middle for you, the square that appears, identifies the middle of that arc. Click once and draw a straight line with the line tool down through these points to the bottom. Press trim and trim away these lines. What we will do now is just add a dimension back into this line. Okay, it doesn't matter, don't change it, just press enter. Okay, so that constrains the length of this line so it won't move. What I will also do is just click escape. I'm going to select that line and I'm going to choose, it is here but it normally isn't, so you wouldn't see that little icon here. You have to go down through this menu bar to fix, second from the bottom, and choose fix. So that line, if I scroll over it, you can see a little icon here. It means it's fixed and we know it's set to a definite distance from here to here. Remember, don't change this dimension. Doesn't matter if it's an unusual dimension like that. An egg will be when you construct it based on the width of the base. Oh, sorry, the widest point across the egg. Right, so what we need to do now is create, what we're going to do is create the shell. So the thickness of the shell of the egg, because the middle of it is hollow. So we need to use the offset tool. We click on that edge, and that edge. And we pull this in a bit, double click on the number, so we're going to change it to 10. It could be a little bit thicker in reality, I'm not sure. It could be 15 mil, I don't know how it's exactly made, I don't know what the exact thickness of the real chair would be. But 10 millimeters, a centimeter should be fine for our model. Then we shall draw down here, so we've got the shell shape. At the bottom there is a base, so we want to move, just move anywhere up this line and draw a line, straight line across. Then we'll set that distance using the dimension tool from here to the bottom. And we'll make that about 175. So this is essentially the bottom of the chair where people will actually sit in. There will be a cushion here and so on, so it will be a little bit higher than this in reality. But you will see as we go to create the shape. Lastly, at the bottom, it will have a stem which goes down into another base, a floor piece, which sits on the floor to connect this egg shape to the base piece. So what I'll do is select the rectangle tool, click from this corner and draw down, and we shall make that 50 mil across, and the length 300. That should be okay. And I will also, well, let's just trim away some lines here first. So we'll trim lines we don't want. The bit we want is down here. Actually, and as well, we want to delete that line. You see? We also want to make a little edge here. So again, you can draw it several ways. I'm just going to draw it like this. I'm going to draw it out here. So it sits like that. I'll make it sit out 70. And we can set the distance between this bit and here to, I don't know, say 15. No, 15, not 150. That's it. Again, use a trim tool. I'm going to trim away certain parts. You'll have little overlapping lines here. Might just want to get rid of them. Oh, don't want to get rid of the line completely, but so always make sure something like that. Okay, I can just get rid of these dimensions after I've drawn it. So I can just visually look at it and check it looks fine. Yep, that should be okay. I actually don't want this line either anymore, so let's just delete it. Using the trim tool again, so I've now got that shape. If you don't quite understand yet, it'll make sense in a minute. So that, I believe, is the full sketch I need. So let's accept that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to revolve this sketch. So faces and sketch regions to revolve in this dialog box are, in this case, this shape. Okay, so select all of it. Then it's asking you to select the revolve axis. Click on it once so it turns blue here. Go down here and choose that line. And you can see, because I've got a full revolution, it's got this egg-like shape now with this stem at the bottom. And this is hollow inside. Alright. Make sure it's new. It should be. It's the first extrusion you've done, or the first revolve you've done. So it should be on the new setting. So it makes a new part. Okay. So what we need to do now is cut it open so that you have the hollow bit which people can sit, or the hole which people can sit into the actual egg. So very simply, click on sketch. Sometimes we have to select a sketch plane. Sometimes they don't appear on the screen. So over here, you can check which sketch or which plane you're drawing onto. So there's the right, you can see it appearing in the middle. Let's zoom in so you can see this. There's the front work plane, top, and so on. So the front work plane, you want to make sure it appears here. And we're now drawing onto this surface. So I'm going to use the line tool. I'm going to go to the top again, just above the top of the egg. Scroll in and see where I am. Yeah, just right on the point there. Click, roll back. Remember, if you don't have a roller ball on your mouse, this is much more complicated. I'm going to bring it down. I can't. The bad thing about Onshape is it doesn't have the option to view your object in wireframe, so I can't tell where the bottom part is here, but usually I can guess, and you can obviously change it later anyway. So I'm going to bring it down past the edge, somewhere like this. Again, it's a bit of guesswork here. If there is a way of doing wireframe so I can see the inside, the interior details or hidden lines when you're editing a feature, please let me know. So you can see what I'm doing. I've drawn a sketch on the front work plane, sketch 2, which is overlapping the edge of this. So let's select the sketch and extrude it. And the extrusion tool, I want to go symmetrical. Click on it and pull. Should go both ways. And I want to remove. So now you can see. It looks about right. I've got a little bit of a depth there, which is what I want. I don't want. See that? That's exactly what I want. So this was drawn in the correct place. And accept that. And there you have it. Not actually that complicated. Just a bit tricky. Some of the drawing, the sketching of the egg, the offsetting at the beginning can be a bit tricky, but you can see the idea. Alright, so now we have to create the base, and to do that we will simply draw another sketch down here to create another revolve to create the actual base shape. So again, that's the sketch we want to draw on the same, well, this we can draw onto the right work plane here, it's facing us. So we can draw onto this. Go down here, and you can see at the moment on this software, when I draw a line, some software will find these edges for you and let the line snap to them. This software doesn't, as far as I know. Again, if you work this out, if something I need to do, then let me know. So, but what you can do on this software, but you can't do in other software, is if you use the convert, that tool, you use project convert tool at the top, it will actually let me choose edges of curves, which other software doesn't actually. So it has to be a straight edge for me to select it. So I can click on this, I can click on that, I can click on that. So I can use these now as reference points to draw the rest. Because remember, I'm going to draw one half, and revolve it around so it's a circular base as well. I mean, you could do other bases, but the example I showed you has a circular base as well. So again, we've got these lines now to work with. I'm going to draw a line from here, the middle of this line, down. I'm going to make that about 50, so that's to the ground. So this will be the base at the bottom. I'm going to draw out. The base isn't quite as wide as the chair actually, it's close to it. So I'm going to make it, say, 400. I'm going to draw a straight line up and make that 20. And so far that's the points I want. Right. So what I want to do now is make a nice curve from here to here. To do that, I'm going to use the ellipse tool. So I'm going to go down here with the ellipse tool selected. I'm going to go down to the top of here. Without clicking, without actually drawing anything in, I'm just going to draw a guideline up. I'm going to go over to this point, draw a guideline out, so that you see the intersection point. When you see that, then you will click and draw your ellipse over to here. Bring the cursor back down to the other point and click on the top of that 20mm line you've just created. And that's it. Obviously, you need to trim this part of the ellipse, and you've now got a nice elliptical curve from this point to this point. Just makes it look a lot neater. Right, so what we want to do here, again a little bit more realism. This wouldn't be touching this, there'd be some sort of clearance between the base piece and this stem piece that drops down from the egg-shaped chair. So we will just create a little offset. Let's just make it all together. So we do it all in one go. Pull this out. Oh, it's not doing it. Let's just tell me here, can only offset a single chain at once for some reason. Usually you can. Let's just escape that and do it again. So offset. Yeah. Let's do -1. So it's just a small distance. Then offset with the offset tool on again. Go to this one. Always wants to go the wrong way. Let's just enter 1. Yeah, that's interesting. Let's just Control Z that a second. What I want to do is create that one with the offset tool on. Let's just see if I can select that edge and that edge. Yeah, and then pull that out. So I've got both of them at the same time. If you don't do that, it will leave a gap between them. So 1mm. And as before, we now need to trim away unnecessary lines. So let's treat that. And technically, I think I've said it before, technically you don't need to delete your unwanted lines. You can just select the area you want to revolve or extrude. Again, I just find it good practice. It just helps neaten up your drawings a bit and just makes you aware visually of what you're doing. Right, see that? It's an important bit to look at. Because we contoured our offset from this line to here, it hasn't quite overlapped that. So we want to come out of the trim tool by pressing escape, zoom in and just click on the edge and pull it past. It sort of moves, but then it moves back into place. And trim that and that, and there you go. Now, very simply, we want to revolve that. So accept sketch and choose the revolve tool. I want to select the actual object, or the profile of the sketch, which I'm revolving. Then choose the revolve axis tab and choose the central of the revolution, which is this line. And there you go. Accept it. What I would do, little finishing touches, is add fillets. I'm going to add a fillet here, 10mm, maybe even a bit more, say 20. goes to the floor. Underneath even here, I'm going to add a fillet. Let's try and make that a bit bigger, see what it looks like. Yeah, even bigger. Let's see what happens. Yep. So well, sometimes these bases are actually hollow underneath. If you pick them up and look underneath, the bases of a lot of these sort of injection molded plastic bases are not shaped like this. They would be shelled out. So we can use the shell tool. Click on here, and again, enter the same thickness as you put for the top pieces, 10mm. This sort of object, this big, would definitely have quite a sturdy, thick wall thickness, maybe even thicker than 10mm. Again, I'm not sure, but that will simulate the appearance quite well. And this is what you got. I could add a cushion in here, so I've got two parts. Remember? Yeah, one thing to remember when you were making that revolution. So let's just go back, see if I can edit that so I can show you this. Yeah, make sure it's new, not an add, a new. Yeah, so it creates a new part, so you have separate parts here. Can make a cushion on the inside. These are actually, if you look at the real things, are padded all the way around the inside, which is a bit more complex to do. Maybe one day I'll do a tutorial to show you another way of doing padding and cushions all the way inside, but we'll just make a simple cushion on the base here. So you've already got this circular face, so you don't even have to draw the sketch. You can just click on extrude button, click on that surface, and you can extrude that surface. Extrude it up so it's slightly higher than this, because the person would be sitting here and the legs would come out over the edge of that. You wouldn't want people's legs catching on the edge of this. So little details like that just show me a real understanding of how the chair would work. Let's say 60. And again here, see, it's trying to add. I'm going to make that new. So it's its own part. So I can add colour to it, I can change it, I can do other things with it. So fillet tool, select that edge. And try and find the edge at the bottom of that part. And I'm going to enter quite a large, say 30mm. Click on the screen to see what it looks like. That looks fine. And there you go. You could even add little rounds. More than likely, this will be finished off. So we could use little rounds on the edge of that. It's 10mm, so 5mm might be okay. Let's just try and select both edges. So we get a round on both. Oh yeah, so when you select it, sometimes it will select the whole. You just go around it, select all the way around it. Actually, I think it's done it without even selecting the edges. I'll just select the edges to make sure. And accept. So if you roll in now, you can see it's no longer that flat, sharp edge. You've got this nice fillet on the edges. That's pretty much it. You can add colours here again for in Fusion 360. It's not got great rendering. Yeah, that's about as white as I seem to be able to get it. Except that the inside of these chairs are often bright, vibrant red actually. So, but I can't select the inner face in this software. There is rendering software, but you have to pay for it, or it's got certain use for a certain amount of time in the App Store. Again, I haven't even played with that yet. I would probably bring this into another application if I wanted to render it. Okay. So, sorry, I was going to make that edit appearance. Make it red. Set that. So there is ways that you can even add another layer when you're creating the original revolve, and you can revolve another layer on the inside here as another part, and then you could add colour to that to make that so it does have a red interior. Don't have time to do that here now, I would involve going back to the original revolve, the original sketch, and making other sketches to be able to show that. But it can be done. At the moment, you can't spin it. It's not an assembly. It's all been created in one part studio. What we can do is go, it always appears here, this assembly tab. If you go into the assembly tab, this will be blank. Go to insert, and it will show you the part studio which you have open and different parts. So we just bring them all in to the assembly separately. So they're now separate components which can be moved around each other and constrained in relationship to each other. So for example, if I use the Revolute mate, actually this basically put the seat, the cushion in place first. So let's use, for that, I'll use a fastened mate. I'll go to below it. Yep, with that, this little locating disc or circle appears, make sure it's in the center. And do the same in here. And we'll just put it in there for you. So it'll be in the right place. Then we want to locate this into this hole, and we will actually be able to make it move, spin on itself. So again, let's accept that we don't want to use the same connector. The last one was a fastened mate. We want to use a Revolute mate now, so let's come out of that and use the next Revolute mate. Select the bottom of this stem on the cylinder. Roll around so you can see the bottom of this hole. Make sure you got it selected properly, and it will flip it over. Now that's interesting. I can move that in a second. I think I mustn't have accepted this when I constrained this inside. I must not have accepted the final. So there you go. Big gap there actually. I'm not sure why it hasn't went to the bottom. I can move that. I can click on offset, and I can add a minus, or yeah, let's bring it down. So you can bring it down so it's just with a tiny gap. It would have a slight. In reality, there'd be a much more complex mechanism in here. Probably some sort of ball bearing mechanism, so it can spin on it a bit more robustly than what we've done here. And it will be joined. There'll be some sort of bolt or some sort of joining mechanism so it doesn't come apart when you lift the egg out of it. Again, if you're really into the CAD, by all means, research it and create more realistic joints. That's the sort of thing I want to see you experimenting with yourself. And that should be okay. So let's just accept that. Oh yeah, sorry, I moved back. That's interesting. Yep, good. And that's it. So now I should be able to spin this. One thing I do have to do, but select the base, right click, and you have an option called fix. The base will be fixed in place so that when I do select this, yeah, I can now spin it. Okay, so you can simulate motion between two objects. And that is it.